showing up for my spouse in the way they need to be, like in the way that they need at the time. So I understand my friends and I understand you guys enough to be like, if this is happening, I can do this and it'll make things better. Or, you know what, this person is angry. Let me leave them alone and not bring up something that I know will push buttons that I don't need to push at this time. Like back in the day, I'll be like, buttons,
Bruh.
let me push them.
Bruh.
Welcome to
We Grwn?
Question mark.
I'm Shaun.
I'm Jess.
And I'm Moyo.
And first things first, what had you feeling grown?
My body. But no, seriously, like my body, because I don't know what it is about being over 30, but all of a sudden my body's like, girl, we don't do that. Or girl, we don't eat that no more. We don't consume that. Like my 20s, I could do coffee. I loved coffee. And then all of a sudden, like, I can't do coffee anymore. Like, I get migraines. I can't do it. And then the dairy thing, like, if you've watched our past episode in season one of our mukbangs, like, I gotta take a daggone dairy pill to eat some dairy. Like, I can't even enjoy cheese.
Honestly.
Okay, but the
It's
fact
honestly.
that she say this, and then every time we go out and get food, she be like, let me get this cheeseburger. I mean, or whatever kind of meat it's not. And then she eat it, and then the next day we get a text message like, oh my God.
No, I have been actually being like, girl, take your pill because I don't want to get no.
Because I be forgetting. Y'all forget I got ADHD.
Yeah, but we be taking the pills.
Because this is new for me. This is
Girl,
new
it
for
ain't
me.
that new.
I was not taking pills like that before 30.
Me and you kind of started at the same time.
We kind of did.
And
but
I'll be like, I had to learn my lesson enough times. I don't know why you need to keep learning this same lesson.
Bruh, it really be bad. Like, I will legitimately forget or not realize something has dairy in it, and I'll eat it, and then like 7 hours later be like,
the floodgates are open.
Like, just be moaning because it's just so much pain, and then my husband will be asleep, and I'm just in there like, I want to die now, please.
Not I want to die now, but it really be
that
like that.
Painful. Like, I just be like, just Lord. If
I
this
always
is it,
walk in the room, wake
just
my
go.
husband like, you didn't hear me dying in there?
Retweet. Like, so you didn't hear me
Like
on my deathbed.
What they supposed to do?
Go get me something.
Comfort me. Be awake.
No,
with
one time
me.
I did make my husband go get me some Pepto-Bismol because he was like, it'll be fine. It's only a little bit. And I was dying, and I went right, get up now. He had to go to the store at like, I don't know what time it was,
Bruh.
but
Ooh,
he
not the
definitely had to
store.
bring me some because I didn't have anything in the house.
Yeah.
And you can't take the dairy pill when it's too
Yeah,
late.
after.
So you need a after.
The dairy pill be like, I don't know what you want me to do for you. It's done.
Yeah, that's that new lactose intolerant. Like, I'm never without those things. Like,
Oh,
dairy
I'm
pills,
on your level now.
got them.
I have
Pepto,
purse, car, wallet. Everywhere has pills now.
Gas X. Mwah.
Maybe I need to get on that.
Maybe
The
we need
gas
to add that
X.
to the rotation.
Yeah,
'cause-
sometimes you just need
It's
them.
like-
I'll be like, my car got it all. My
Bruh.
book bag got it all. My
Yeah.
pockets got it all.
I mean, I usually be strapped with a little Plan D every now and then, but
I'd be running
I
out of
need it
stuff,
everywhere.
and I'd be like, dang, I don't got this pill. And John be like, luckily I do. I'd be like, he's like,
Yeah.
I ain't dealing with that.
Listen,
I could see
I think
that.
it's been one too many times to the point where he'll even ask me like, "Did you take a dairy pill?" I'm like, "Ooh, you right." Like the other night, I wanted a float, and he had got ice cream, and I'm like, "Ooh, yay, my float!" And he's like, "Wait, dairy pill?" I was like,
2 or 3 of them for that.
You right,
Yeah.
you right, yeah." So sometimes at this point, I'm just like, "Can I just go without?"
Yeah.
But some things it's just like there's just no substitute, so take that out. But yeah, not being able to eat what I want to eat no more is annoying as I don't know what, and really has me feeling like, dang, I'm not as young as I used to be. It's crazy.
Welcome to the club.
It's not fair, man.
It's not a club I wanted to go to.
Exactly.
You know,
I was not begging to get into that one.
I was born to do it.
molded by it.
Right.
You merely adopted. I was born in it.
It's a podcast, it's a video, and more.
Okay.
So we are finally on chapter 12. I feel like this series. This series lasted a really long
That joint has
time.
been
It
going
did.
since like February.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've been in this for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, we started out with our husbands and then dove
yeah.
right into the book. And it's been a journey. I feel like we've had really good discussions though.
Mhm.
Sometimes the book was good and sometimes it was like,
Sometimes.
could have
Yeah.
done without this. But their final chapter was lessons they've learned in their 18 years of marriage at the time that they wrote the book. And what I want to do first is just give you the headers for all of the lessons, and then we'll go into what our favorite lessons from the book was, what a lesson that you currently have in however many years you've been married, and then the last one is lessons that we've learned within our friendship. And I will ask these questions again as we're going,
Thank you.
so that we're all on the same page.
'Cause
So
I
yeah,
know I'd be forgetting.
let me start with lesson 1. They had resentment. Lesson 2, they had differentiation.
Big word.
So meaning like individuality is what I would have
Okay.
said, but
Mhm.
that's what that was about. They had seasons, so understanding the different seasons of life and adapting to that. Vulnerability, which we talked about a
A
lot.
lot.
Yeah, throughout the book. Sex.
Bang, bang, bang.
Let me tell you that there were some parts of this book where sex was brought up and it was like, why are we talking about sex? I'm
There's
confused.
so many times.
It was
So
a little
many.
bit annoying, but sex is an important part of marriage, but the emphasis placed on it in this book was a little excessive.
Like if you removed the pages that talked about sex, that book would be like 6 pages long.
Yeah, so that was a
Oh,
bit
wow.
excessive, but to each their own.
Yeah, I get it. I get it again because I feel like they come from a background like church. You
Yes.
don't talk about it, so they like, well, since we know what we are coming from, and people might be coming from that same situation, like we gonna talk about it. But yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
And
It
they
was a lot
talked
though.
about it.
It was a yeah. It was
Yeah.
a bit excessive.
Lesson 6 was experiencing first together. Lesson 7 was parenthood. 8 is marriage be hard, which is just, I think they kind of just repeated what was in the book. Like you go into marriage thinking, how hard can it really be? Everybody keeps talking about how hard marriage is, and it shouldn't be that hard. I love this person. We doing what we doing, and everything is smooth sailing. So what's so hard about it? And they're saying after 18 years, they're like, oh, wait a minute. I see what the people were talking about now. Lesson 9 is honor. Lesson 10 was spontaneity. 11 was dream together. 12 was apologize. 13 intimacy. 14 celebrate. And that one they specifically were talking about celebrating anniversary, celebrating like milestones. Yeah, marriage milestones. And then lesson 15, everything ain't for everybody.
Child, listen.
And that kind of sums up literally everything. Like everything is not for everybody. So, and even this book may not be for everybody. But there are definitely nuggets that you can take out of it. So
Yeah.
were there any lessons that you took from this book that you've applied or plan to apply in your marriage?
I would say the emphasis on communication was definitely a great reminder
For sure.
for marriages, especially being able to realize like, okay, let me actually sit and listen for a second before I just jump in and get upset about something and then not actually like even hear what the issue at hand is. I mean, so I like a big one that I just think about was, and we had talked about it on the podcast, was when like John was doing breakfast and I was watching TV and he's like, come help. And I was like, oh shoot, sorry, didn't realize it. And he wanted to be mad. And I'm like, I mean, because I was just thinking about this book, like, you're right, like I should be helping. And then he just wanted to be so mad. And then he's just like, well, now I can't even be mad, like, because you didn't came and helped.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I was like, look at me learning,
Yeah.
applying. So one thing for me.
That's fair. I think for me, it's the same. Definitely the communication part. I think because I can kind of relate to Melissa a bit about how she kind of like internally processes and then has had a history of building her own narrative and then acting on that narrative versus having a conversation. So I try to be more mindful of it. Like it's been something I've been working on, but working on even more as far as like, okay, let me sort out what's me, what's the situation, and what is possibly my partner. And then from there, approach it from a team perspective versus a you versus me perspective. But definitely the
Yeah.
communication was such a great refresher and reminder of like, it's so key and it like transcends all of the chapters, like
Hmm.
all of the
Yeah.
chapters.
Mine was vulnerability. That was something
That
that
was my next one.
they talked about a lot. And I never realized, I don't know, the way they framed it and explained it made it be like, oh, maybe I'm not as vulnerable as I thought I was in my marriage or even in our friendship. Like tying it also to communication, like being vulnerable in the way that you're communicating so that people understand the feeling and the heart behind what you're saying. And oh, that was something that stuck out to me. That was like the only note I had when I listened to the lessons learned. I was like, "Oh yeah, vulnerability, vulnerability." I
Yeah.
think in all the notes if it wasn't communication, it was vulnerability.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's something I try to think about now.
Yeah. So it's been interesting doing the editing for these because we've had conversations like offline where we're talking about like vulnerability. So like specifically, like there have been many times where Jess is like, Shaun, open up more. So then as I'm watching the clips, I think there are times that I have opened up to you guys more that I don't think you might have realized that I was being vulnerable. At least based on like how the conversation went because like I'm watching it and like I can feel my stomach like this is not one that I wanted to do, and then
Yeah.
there's like not necessarily like a one like topic but like conversation that we were having, most likely it was probably not on the camera, but it was always interesting to see that. So then just learning how like vulnerability can be seen in different like seen and demonstrated in different ways, and
Hmm.
then how people take that has been an interesting thing to watch through editing videos.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
Are there any lessons in your marriage? We're all married and have different spans of marriage at this point. Are there any lessons that you would like to share from your marriage?
Yes. And it's for Jess specifically.
Okay.
So when I listen to these, I mean, I've said it before, John and Jess are so similar. They're very similar. And I know me and Ronald are similar as
Mm.
well. But you're fresh, like in your marriage. So many of the things that you talk about and do and, just like together is stuff that we went through early on in our marriage. So it's just interesting to see it taking place and then like not being the one involved in
Mhm.
it. Um, so I would just say, remember to like, John is very, like in the beginning, John was like, things should be done. Like, I want things done a certain way.
Mhm.
Um, but really, it's like, okay, is it that you want things to be done or does it have to be done your way? So it's just kind of remembering, like, okay, well, we need to remember what is the end goal of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is it to be done
That's
my
good.
way or is it to be done? So that's just one thing that I would, keep in the back of your mind
Yeah.
That's
because
real.
I think it could cause you more frustration to yourself if somebody's not, or somebody, your husband's not doing something the specific way that you want it, but it's done. Like if you take a step back and be like, oh, that's done, like I get it,
Mhm.
um then it might make you less like, shoot, how am I saying this, feel away.
That's
if you feel
fair.
away. If you do feel away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does
That's
that make
real. And it
sense?
yeah, it does. It really does. I think for me it's definitely the key takeaway for sure is, do I want it done or do I want it done my way? And kind of going back to like that self-worth part of like time, like, do I want to spend the time doing this because I want it done the way I want it done, or do I want to allow or have the help or, share responsibilities and get that time that we can have together because we're being efficient with, there's two of us, we can do this, you can do that, I can do this, and then, it's done. Because it's funny enough, like I kind of related to your like the way you fold because you're left-handed.
Yeah.
Like I fold like the towels and the sheets a very specific way. My husband folds them a very specific way to him. And so in my mind, I'm like, that doesn't work. Like that won't fit. That won't do this. This is it. Like you can't. And it's just because I've been so used to,
Yeah.
like, for all the years I've ever done laundry, I've always folded them the same way. So it's just like, but they're folded and we can make them fit. It's not a big deal. Nobody is just leaving the closet open and staring like, this is aesthetic. Like this is like, you're gonna open it, grab a towel, and leave. So just like let it go.
Yeah.
But easier said than done. It's a work in
Yeah,
progress.
it definitely takes
Yeah, it takes
time. I
time.
mean,
Yeah.
that takes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, trust me, I've tried to fold clothes the other way, and every time it's just like, I think I do it. Like, look at that, I folded them the way you want it, and he's like, no, you didn't. And I'm like, dang, like
I
this
get
is
on my
so.
own
I
nerves
was
with
like,
how I
this is
fold
so
stuff too.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Like even t-shirts, like because I have t-shirts of different sizes, like I still cannot get them to fold
It's
equally.
challenging.
Bruh. But yeah. So yeah. That's real. For me, lessons. Oh.
You want me to go?
Yeah, you can go.
My lesson in marriage and something that I'm still learning is that you can never fully know your spouse because they're constantly changing,
Yeah.
and you also can't expect them to fully know you because you're constantly changing. So my main example is with my love languages. In the beginning of our marriage, my love languages were a specific thing, and then as we were going through different stages of life, it kept shifting, and I knew it was shifting, but explaining to him like, that stuff don't work for me no more. Like now you have to do other things in order for us to like work. And same thing for him. There are things where I might have felt like, oh, this is something you always liked. And he's like, well, nah, I'm good off that now. Or, things like that. Because my husband was a movie goer and he used to always want to go to the movies. And now if I'm like, do you want to go to the movies? He's like, not really. Like I know, like he knows I don't like movies and he's not going to enjoy it necessarily with me. And if it's not a movie he really, really wants to see, he's like, girl, let's not even spend money on that. We'll just wait for it to come out. Plus, we've gotten to the point where we are tired. So
Y'all got kids.
yeah, if we go out and watch a movie, somebody gonna fall asleep and somebody gonna be mad we wasted money. And most we don't even know who that person could be. Sometimes it's him and he's like, well, I fell asleep and I didn't mean to. So just growing with each other in every way you can kind of think about that, because people grow apart. So that's what I'm saying, grow with each other and communicate, like we've said, when things are changing and shifting for you. And I actually saw a video recently where the lady was like, marriage is not 50-50.
Girl,
blah, blah, blah,
Brene
blah,
Brown.
blah.
Yes.
And
love her. Yes.
they basically, so this specific lady was saying that there are times where I have 20 and then my partner takes 80. And then she's like, but there are also times where I have 20 and he has 20. Like, then what do you do? And I thought, like, I've never even thought about not equaling to 100. Like, what do you do when it doesn't equal 100?
Yeah.
And her thing was, when you're in those places, remembering you don't have to stay there. Like, this is a today thing, and we can know, hey, let's chill for today. We might not have the kindest words for each other today because I'm drained, you're drained. Let's just make it to tomorrow. Like, every day doesn't have to be we're 100%, we're the best we can be. And every day is also not, I'm going to carry your load, because I might not have the capacity to carry your load today. And I just thought that was like the most profound thing I ever heard in my life. I was like, not 100%. This math ain't mathing. Like, when is it ever not 100%? That's the only thing we ever think about, is being completely whole at all times, all the time. And that's just not how life works. Like, sometimes you aren't there.
I did a post, or I reposted something the other day, and it was about like how you're a flower, and then but every day you require something different. So like one day you might need sunlight, and one day you might need fertilizer, and then one day you might need shade, and it's just like, and it's okay, like, because it kind of goes in seasons, like we talked about and discussed through the book. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's really good. I don't know. I think I'm thinking of it from the perspective of like something that's like novel, like something brand new that I got from the book, where it's like it's not necessarily information that's new. It's more so just like stuff that's been refreshed for me or presented a different perspective. The biggest lesson, I think, outside of communication, I think, is just because communication was huge. Because for me, like that could be it.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, because I think for me, it expands past. Like I said, it reaches into everything. So everything comes back to communication. But I think the relationship check-ins, for sure. Like, it wasn't that we weren't doing them before. I think the way I'm trying to approach them now is a little different versus like having them me focused and what I can do and what I can change. It's more so like us and him kind of focused. So it's more so like, how do you feel? Like, what do you need?
It's like
And
intentionality.
Yeah,
behind it.
yeah. Like, I've always been a person that let me not say enjoys, but I like feedback. I kind of need feedback. No, not kind of. I need feedback. And so when I don't get feedback, I'm like, okay, either something is very wrong or it's just average. And again, don't want to be average, don't want to, be in the red or in the wrong. So I'm like, tell me what I can change, tell me what I can fix. And it really took my husband, like, there's nothing to fix, there's nothing to change. Like, I'm good. like, I'm good. So it's just like, okay, well, let's reframe it of like, how do you feel about this? Where are we? What do you want to see more of? What can we do? Like, just making it more of an open conversation and dialogue versus like, tell me how I've been messing up. Tell me what I can improve on. But like, no, like, oh, well, do you like when I ask about this? Oh, okay, great. Or maybe I should ask more about this, or how are you feeling in this moment? How do you feel about the last 3 months? Like, what are your thoughts? Just keeping it open and more of, like I said, like relationship and him focus versus like, I need to know what I can do so that I can make a difference in this marriage. And it's just like, girl, we both in this marriage. So chill out. But
we always talk about how we've been married to each other longer than anything else. So are there any lessons in our friendship that we would take into our marriages, or that we have taken into our marriages?
Not it.
I guess I could start. I think one lesson in friendship that I think I've taken into my marriage is showing up for my spouse in the way they need to be, like in the way that they need at the time. So I understand my friends and I understand you guys enough to be like, if this is happening, I can do this and it'll make things better. Or, you know what, this person is angry, let me leave them alone and not bring up something that I know will push buttons that I don't need to push at this time. Like back in the day, I'll be like, buttons, let me push them. And so I've taken that from our friendship because my husband is very sensitive. So I know, okay, think think before you talk. Think before you do things. Think before you. And sometimes I'll run things by Jess and be like, don't say that. Girl, don't say that. And I'll be like, you're right. I'm not going to say that. Or even recounting a story. I'll be like, I wanted to say, but I didn't. That's growth because I know some of the things we've been through in those moments where I've said things and it might have been true, but not everything that's true has
Needs to
to
be
be
said,
it needs to
child.
come out of my mouth. And that is something that y'all had to deal with so that
You're welcome.
Listen.
so that he could get a kind of watered down version because he still gets it, but it's not as bad as I feel like it could have been.
That's funny.
And so, yeah, that's something in our friendship that I'm like, let me use this lesson and be like, do better, do better, do better. Don't do it, don't do it. Like, pep talk myself. Like, what would your friend say if you repeated this story or something like that? So, yeah.
I could reverse that and say, for me, it's been to be less sensitive. Being friends with y'all, I've definitely had to grow a little bit of a tougher skin.
Did.
But no, I think for me it's not even just like being tougher or growing, tougher skin. It's not internalizing or personalizing like criticisms, or even just jokes. Like I think I married somebody very sarcastic, and I've never been a fan of sarcasm. I used to joke in school like I am horrible with sarcasm. I can't really read it. Like you could tell me, "Oh, I just saw a pig fly," and I'm like, for a half a second, gonna believe you and be like, "Wait, no, you're being sarcastic." So, and his tone remains the same no matter what he's saying.
Yes.
So it makes it worse when he's being sarcastic. I'm like, okay. I think you're being sarcastic right now. But yeah, I think for me it's definitely helped me to like just be like, oh, kind of this is just what it is. We can joke, we can play. I still don't know how to do the dozens with y'all, but it's okay. And by do the dozens, I mean like somebody says something like not really like attacking you, but like they say something about you, you say something about them, and it like just back and
banter.
forth. Yeah, yeah. Like going in, joning. I don't know what the kids call
Joning?
it.
Girl, that's back in college days.
Bruh, like I don't know what these kids call it. I know old school is called doing the dozens or whatever, but
Girl, how old is it? I was like, I don't even know what this is.
but joning, like, just joning, just going back and forth. Like I was never really built for that. And as I said in that one thing, like you disrespect me, I try to disgrace you. Like I don't know how to just be in the middle. So I'm definitely learning that. And this book kind of reinforces that of like, all right, girl, like you all up in your feels for why? Like you see it in how they like handle some of the conflict. Like Melissa, again, I related to a lot of like what she was feeling and experiencing. And then Kevin's like, I didn't even know all of that was going on. I just said what I said.
You
And,
better preach.
thinking like, oh, I didn't realize it was that deep for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think our friendship has helped me get to a point, and it's still helping me like grow more and like, all right, it's not really that deep. Like it's not really that deep.
It's not really that deep. I would say for me, it's probably just remembering to like do the celebrations and all, because I'm not a really
That's
big
good.
person for like. I don't typically do stuff for like my birthday. Usually people would do stuff for me for my birthday. Like, cause if it was up to me, I usually just don't do anything except for this year. This is like the only year I was like, I'm gonna do a Juneteenth birthday party. And it was really just because I was like, okay, Moyo had a Juneteenth party last year. We got to keep it up. This is our holiday now. But then it's
True.
just like, oh yeah, like we can do that. So then I try and be intentional, like with getting like John gifts for anniversaries and stuff. Make sure for his birthday, like he likes having a cake. So let me make him his cake. Is it
Yeah.
usually the cake that he wants? Probably not. I mean, and that's always a learning lesson. Like, for example, did you know you're not supposed to actually put coffee grounds inside of a cake? You're probably supposed to make the coffee. But I ain't had time for that. So I just dumped some coffee grounds in there. And then John was like, that is a no. But he liked the cake though. I did. I liked the cake. I hope he liked the cake. Anyways, so yeah, it's just like it reminds me to like celebrate,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, to have those. Um,
Yeah. Um, are there any marriage topics that you wish they touched on in the book?
Yes.
What's your topic and why should it have been brought up?
I think a topic for me that I think was a big deal because we've talked about it. Finances, like finances is a huge deal in marriage, especially like because it's one of the number one contributors to people actually getting divorced is finances. So, um, again, like I just think it plays such a huge role. Like you have seen marriages where money has been a factor in abuse. It's been a factor
mhm,
in like a power play, and disagreements, the complete dissolution or dissolving of a marriage. Like money is a huge, huge deal. So I think it would have been nice for them to address the money factor, but um, I get how that is still a part of like communication, it's a part of
yeah.
intimacy, it's a part of vulnerability. Like there's a lot of different things that also go into that, but it would have been nice to see them cover that.
Yeah.
Part of me wonders if they just didn't cover it because since they are more famous now and probably making more money, they probably wanted to make this as like humble as possible because
Relatable.
they talked about money when they first started out.
Yeah, yeah.
But
They don't talk about it now.
yeah, like but we don't hear about like okay, well how are we dealing with stuff now
Yeah,
that you're oh I run this company and I do this and
yeah.
oh I book these things. So it's like, well,
I mean,
how
you
does
hear
that
about it.
work?
You hear about it on their podcast, but it would have
Yeah.
been nice to
Yeah.
see it in the book. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And even on the podcast, it's like kind of like touch here and there, fleeting. Never really like
In depth.
let's
In
talk
depth.
about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Finances is a huge topic that we will try to do a segment on that.
If you like, comment, share, and subscribe.
It'll be a separate outside of this,
Mhm.
book discussion, but yeah, that's a good one. Um One that I was thinking about was the blending of families, two families,
Ooh,
and dealing with
child.
in-laws, dealing with
Mhm.
extended family. Your cousin is now my cousin, but are they really my cousin? But just that whole dynamic of how do you blend the two families? You know that your husband and your kids are your nuclear family. That's what they call them. And I don't know what they call the outside people, but
Right.
like how do you then mesh the two and what are the expectations there? Is there a standard to that? I think that would be a good discussion to have.
Hmm. Do
Um
you marry the person or do you marry the family or you
yeah,
marry
yeah,
both?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because I think that also depends person to person, relationship to relationship, too.
yeah,
But yeah, that would have been really nice to kind of read about in the book because again, I think it's one of those things where like because I follow them and listen to their podcast, like I get bits and pieces, and you can kind of put the pieces together. Like they both consider each other's family their family, but also they grew up as kids,
yeah,
and they dated when they were so teenagers. So
yeah,
there's just that level of like I've known your family for so long that
yeah,
they are family.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, especially somebody marrying later in life. Um we're still new, but like you have a certain level of stuff established. Like
Yeah.
I had a full-time job. I was living by myself. I had my own money. Like you're blending two people who are full-grown adults together and like becoming one versus we have nothing and we're coming together and we're building together. Like
Yeah.
it's
yeah,
it's just different.
yeah,
I think I would have liked the parenting chapter to be different. I mean, we did a whole separate thing on what the parenting chapter actually like from the book because I feel like it just talked about sex a lot. I
yeah,
mean, and like how to talk to your children about sex, and I think that probably could have been included, but I wanted to hear more about their parenting.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah, like how do you actually raise kids, not just sex positive kids, but just like how do you raise kids?
kids in general.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Period.
because before you even get to that point,
Yeah.
how did you get them
What are the
here?
steps?
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say I struggled with the book at times because it was very, I mean, like it's very churchy, but it's also very like hetero. So there are definitely times where I'm like, we're talking about like the marital roles. I'm like, this doesn't really fit my relationship. Like, I don't really know what to say because we don't necessarily have these boxes like this.
Mhm.
So sometimes it would just be like, oh, well, there's this. And I was like, I don't really relate to this chapter. Like, oh, or there's this. And I'm like, I don't really relate to this section either. I mean, like the whole last section, I was just like, well, dang, I guess I can't read this. Like, let me not read this whole
This
part
was
about
for the
Self-worth.
ladies.
yeah, my self worth, my self esteem, like, cause I don't have that. Um, so it's just it was challenging at times, which I think is why there were some chapters where I just didn't say as much because I'm like, well, I don't know what I really took away from this
Yeah, I
chapter.
can understand that. So to kind of close out, I think one question I do have is, would you recommend this book to someone else?
I think I would. I think it definitely depends on the couple. Um, bless you.
Thank
I
you.
think, but no, still bless you. Yes.
I take it.
I think depending on the couple, definitely hetero couple, probably one with more of a churchy background. Because I think, and this is just me personally, because of what I've grown up in and I've seen, and I've kind of like done my own growth and healing, that this book would be helpful for people to realize that life is a little bigger than probably what you've been taught, and gender roles not really need to be a thing. I'm not speaking
Yeah.
good English right now, but yeah, I think it would be very helpful and freeing for a lot of couples who may be in that more conservative, like heterosexual marriage. I think this would be helpful, at least to just present a different perspective, like to help them communicate better, um, communicate their needs, and to just build a healthier relationship in general.
Yeah. I think if not for anything else, I would recommend the relationship check-ins at the end of the
Oh yeah, that's a good
chapters.
one
Yeah.
too.
Those were
I thought
good.
those
Like
were good too.
I'm big on the question cards and all those type
Same.
of things, so I like the conversation starters. So even if you don't relate to anything that they actually write, you definitely can get something out of just going through those questions and answering them with your partner and seeing where you guys stand.
Yeah.
And it's not like you ask the question today and now that's it. Like you can always revisit it.
Yeah.
So it's a good
Mm-hmm.
it's good for starting those conversations. And actually, they do write 12 conversations to keep you laughing, loving, and learning with your partner. So that's like their tagline. So yeah, it's definitely good for that.
Yeah. I mean, I would still recommend it. But I think it's just like have that caveat because I guess going into the book, I didn't think it was going to be so like I was like, oh, like I feel like I can't relate to some of these
Yeah, that's
topics.
fair.
I mean, but I did, the communication, the vulnerability, the honesty, the trust. Those are all things, those are foundational for relationships in general, all relationships,
Mhm.
whether you're friendship or situationship or with your spouse. So I think that that was still beneficial, and there are definitely still learning points from it. But it was just be more so like take it with a grain of salt. Remember, not everything will necessarily apply to you,
Yeah.
but many things still can.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well,
All right.
that ends our marriage be hard, but not review.
Our marriage be hard guided book discussion.
There
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, act like I haven't said that 50 billion times.
Well,
You act like we gonna remember.
I know. I be avoiding that seat, so that's the hot seat. You gotta know what you talk about over there.
You really do.
Right. I know y'all saw every time I was there. I had that book right open, like, because it'd be rough out here. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for watching every other week. Thank you for dealing with our technical difficulties and our, the juicy fighting and debates that we've had on
Some of these
Facebook,
reels.
Instagram, YouTube, all of it.
Bruh.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for the views.
Right. Like,
Even the ones who don't watch, but comment.
But
you know?
got something to say because they know us so well.
they
Shaun's
surely do.
married to a woman. I'm apparently unhappy.
I didn't get no smoke yet, but it's coming.
Not yet.
Not
It's
yet.
coming.
Not yet. We got a long enough time ahead of us with this podcast.
Well,
Yeah.
until next time.
Bye.
See y'all. Love y'all.
Oh, that's the end of the season, right?
Yeah. See
Wrap
y'all next
up
season.
Season 2. Look at us. 2 seasons in the book.
Whole 2 seasons.
That's
And
crazy.
don't you worry, we definitely have something planned for season 3.
We do though.
We do have a plan.
Yeah.
The way you said it
We
made it
do.
sound like, yeah, we do.
We do.
All right.
Well,
Ciao.
bye.
Bye.